Hello, and welcome to episode 75 of the Online Strength Coach podcast. Ronnie Coleman and getting after your goals. Hello, and welcome to episode 75 of the Online Strength Coach podcast. So before we get into today's topic, I've just got one quick question to ask the viewers of the podcast. I had a comment on the last episode that asked me, fairly abruptly, but to remove the introduction music and reading of the current date. I do definitely agree on the date, so I'm just going to jack that because he or she definitely had a point where it is pretty much irrelevant since most people are going to be listening to this retrospectively, especially since it hasn't been released on iTunes yet, which is obviously where most people get their blogs from, or not their blogs, their podcasts from. The other request was to remove the intro music. Now I realize the intro music is a complete and utter irrelevance. I just kind of like it. I think it just kind of sets up the podcast in my opinion, and the vast majority of podcasts I listen to and quite enjoy have like a little intro music. So I don't have a set, obviously I haven't paid anyone to do a set intro for me, or I don't have like a set little soundbite that brings in the episodes. I quite like the idea of playing a little bit of music to start off the show and just to get into it. So I'd be really interested to get people's opinions on it. I will go implicitly with whatever the majority of opinion is. So most people would rather I just get rid of the music and just crack on with the podcast. That's exactly what I'll do, because at the end of the day, you guys are listeners, and it's not really about my own selfish desires to listen to music before I start talking to myself for a little while. So today's episode comes around from I was browsing around on Facebook this morning while I was writing the latest blog, and something popped up on Facebook from Propane Fitness that actually annoyed the crap out of me. And then I read this kind of writing afterwards and how it was put across. However, the video was Ronnie Coleman doing some rehab. So Ronnie Coleman's recently went through some back surgery. He's wheelchair bound for a while and he's rehabbing back towards being able to walk again. And he was doing some seated stationary bike. So he's on the first preliminary parts of his rehab. And the question and the title was, or the title of the post on Facebook was, is it all worth it? And obviously my instant reaction was, well, fuck you, because who are you to judge someone who is, what they've done, who they are, what they've decided to do with their own time in their own life. I like how people can retrospectively judge someone else's actions. So the likes of Ronnie Coleman, who's had so many surgeries, who's went through so much. The likes of Kevin Randleman, maybe, who died recently, sadly, of heart conditions. Obviously, Kevin was a high-level mixed martial artist. Quite possibly did the same sort of compounds that Ronnie Coleman did to get to where he got to. However, people, like in the retrospect, when things blow up in people's faces, or when someone's lifestyle or someone's choices comes back to bite them, people love to kind of jump on a high horse and to say, I told you so, shouldn't have done it. They almost use it as a self-assurance as to why they haven't went ahead and tried to achieve something out of the ordinary, try to go beyond a normal existence, or to actually go after something, to want something so badly that you're willing to jeopardize your future health. You're willing to put your body under inordinate amount of stresses, whether that's just purely through the training or whether that's through abuse of compounds that are going to allow you to get where you want to get. Because if you're being honest, it's completely impossible to become Mr. Olympia without abusing anabolic steroids or without abusing other hormones. Like, it's not a possibility. Anyone who's on that stage has used and abused lots of compounds, lots of steroids to get to where they are. And people are very quick to point and say, oh, it's a freak show. They're very quick to downgrade the amount of dedication, the amount of time, the amount of effort, the amount of sacrifice that these people have made to get to where they are. Now, some people might say it's an addiction. Some people might say it's a mental handicap, but it's kind of like a reverse anorexia where it's a mental problem. And these people might have some kind of merit. They may have some kind of rational point, or they may even be correct in what they're saying. However, I don't see how someone can't just stand back and just maybe think about or applaud the amount of effort and the amount of time that's went into getting to that stage, becoming one of the 10 best in the world at what you do, becoming one of the 20 best in the world at what you do. Bodybuilding is a pretty popular sport if you look on the global scale. Much more popular than powerlifting, much more popular than weightlifting. Yet, if a powerlifter, the likes of Dave Tate, the likes of Louis Simmons, the likes of Eric Littlebridge, the likes of Chris Duffin, guys who are held up, or even weightlifters, the likes of Ilya Lian, the likes of Kakisvilis, the likes of Prius Dimas, the likes of Lou. These guys all have reached the top in their respective strength sports. Everyone I've mentioned may not have tested positive on a drug test, but I'd be willing to guarantee that everyone I've listed off has. So all the powerlifters I mentioned all compete in non-test federations, so it's not cheating here. It's not really here or there, but pretty much every single one of those people have abused compounds. The likes of Ronnie Coleman and the likes of Kai Green. These guys have all used similar methods to get to where they are. However, for some reason, if you achieve it from lifting a heavy weight, or you achieve something through a physical feat of strength, it's somehow better, or somehow people seem to think it's almost more worthwhile mentioning. And I myself am not a fan of bodybuilding. I will never do a bodybuilding show. I don't really enjoy it. But one thing I did enjoy, one of the things that actually got me into lifting, or one of the things I really enjoyed when I got into lifting, was Ronnie Coleman. If you ever watched Ronnie Coleman's DVDs, Unstoppable, and the various, he's done about 5 or 6 of them. He comes across as a very nice guy. Comes across as a very open guy. Comes across as someone who, if you came up and said hello to him in the street, he would give you the time of day. He's like, "Oh, Ronnie, I'm a big fan." I don't know, I've never met Ronnie, but the way he comes across in his social media, the way he comes across in his videos, he seems like a very open person. He seems like a really nice person who you never see in media talking shit about Kai Green. He doesn't talk shit about people, which is something that is insidious in the health fitness industry, especially within the internet, within the blog sphere, on YouTube. People like to talk shit. People like Jason Geneva have made pretty much the entirety of their YouTube fame banging on other people. Now, I'm certainly not innocent in that realm, or it's something that I struggle with as a person, is being positive and not being a negative person, not talking shit about other people behind their back, especially, it's not really on their back, but on the internet, but not like being a keyboard warrior, not having negative opinions of people and just putting opinions out there, and certainly not utilizing someone's name or criticizing someone purely to criticize, just to get forward yourself or put your name out there. Someone like Ronnie Coleman doesn't do that. They're above it, if you will. So it really, actually, really genuinely quite annoyed me this morning when I seen that, and I was probably a bit quick to be on the defensive. Maybe should have took a while to read through what the Facebook status was saying, but I really do think that's a huge problem or a huge character flaw in a lot of people, and something that we could take a little bit of time to appreciate. Someone like Ronnie Coleman, who does their own thing, who goes after their own goals, who picks people up rather than putting people down. You know, he is a positive influence within the health and fitness community. I'm not really here to say like that his supplement line or this or what he did to get to where he was or to endorse bodybuilding or anything. I just think as a personality, him or someone like The Rock who are positive, who encourage people to go after the goals, who, although they might speak in broad strokes for some people, or they might be a bit low-key for some people, or they might not satisfy some people's pseudo-intellectual needs by using big words or trying to be overly complicated, but by what at the end of the day is, my friends, a very simple pursuit. Lifting weights and bodybuilding are not difficult tasks. Getting lean is not a difficult task. Some people like to make it obtusely difficult, but look at Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman is probably the greatest bodybuilder of all time. He is the GOAT in his sport, and his sport has a higher population than weightlifting. Has a higher population than powerlifting. So by nature, within the barbell sports, there's a much higher population than strongman, like much higher. So for him to achieve the top of his sport, and not only to achieve the top of his sport, but to be the greatest of all time at his sport, is a huge achievement, and something I don't think people should be flippant about, or should be quick to make judgments about. I also think when you look at someone who's done something extraordinary, who's put their body through a huge amount of stress, because at the end of the day, exercise is a stressor, and there cannot be adaptation, there cannot be progress without stress. So, you like powerlifters, weightlifters, we are all doing a sport that is not healthy for our body, and I think the vast majority of us accept that, or we should accept that because we engage with it. You're not gonna have good hips, you're not gonna have good knees, you're not gonna have a good back when you're older. As Mark Bell says, we're all gonna be in a lot of pain. We're all gonna die. So you might as well be a fucking savage while you can and get after your goals. That's one of the best quotes, I think, that kind of sums up lifting, or it sums up life in general. You can't be worried about what's going to happen in the future. You can't be standoffish. You can't think, oh well, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to diet because it's not healthy, or I'm not going to get involved in a barbell sport because it's not healthy. I'm not going to play rugby because it's not healthy. I'm not going to play soccer because there's a high incidences of ankle injury. This sort of thought process, this kind of negative feedback loop, is what keeps people doing jobs they hate. It's what keeps people from getting off their ass and going out and exercising. It's what stops people from going traveling. This is the kind of thought process that stops people from living their life, and it's something that you need to get out of. You just need to get out of that thought process, because no doubt there's people listening to this who are working a job they hate. There's people in this who have strength goals that they want to achieve, but they're not sure they can achieve. There's people who are listening to this who've got fitness goals that they want to achieve, but they don't think they can achieve. You need to stop listening to fucking negative comments. You need to get off your ass and get after what you want. And that's what I'm going to leave this podcast on. It's probably a little bit big picture, or a little bit esoteric for my normal podcast, but I just felt the need. I think this needs to be said on a regular basis, and especially within the health and fitness community. Stop paying attention to what other people are doing. Stop being fucking negative. Start thinking about yourself. If you want to be critical, be self-critical. What are you doing right now that you don't like? What do you want to change? Right? Rather than wishing, fucking do something about it. Thanks very much for listening. I've been Mark. You've been listening to the Online Strength Coach podcast. We will be going on to iTunes. I've been saying this for the last month, but we will be going on iTunes sometime in the near future. I've just got to work with the blog. I've just kind of, as occurred to me, why it hasn't occurred to me before now, that the blog feed is going to be used to produce the RSS feed. So if you're not savvy on technical speak, iTunes pulls off its RSS feed, or it pulls off the blog. It pulls off its podcast feed off the blog. So every post on the Online Strength Coach website that I've done now was put on there with the idea that would feed the Stitcher, or it would feed an iTunes RSS feed, so it would update on Podcatcher, iTunes Store, whatever you utilize to listen to your podcasts. However, going forward with the website, I also want to produce like more niche blog content that's designed for certain populations, certain lifters with certain problems. So I want to produce written content on the website. So I need to put a separate blog on the website, or I need to put like a sub-site on the actual URL. So that's going to take a little bit of time to work out. So whenever I have that worked out, I will launch it on iTunes, because it is good to go. That feed is all up to date. So we just need to submit the feed to iTunes. So I just need to get that feed in a place where it's only going to be the blog. And thanks very, very much for listening. If you leave any comments below on the YouTube, if you have any questions you don't want to post publicly, please send an email to speedpowerperformance@gmail.com. Recently done up the website, Cast Iron Strength. Please have a little visit. If you want to download the podcasts, you can do so online on onlinestrengthcoach.com, or you can go on to our SoundCloud feed, which is Empire Fitness. Thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you again soon. Cheers. That awkward silence.